Welcome back. For most people, a new year means new habits. Across the country, people aim to begin their journey towards a healthier lifestyle. In Nutrition for Nao Medical, Melissa Darlow joined me to discuss the top 10 wellness ways and different ways to stay healthier this new year. Melissa, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Now, can you first just talk about your organization, Nao Medical?
Absolutely. So Nao Medical, formerly known as StatCare, was created by Dr. Preeti Jain. She began her career as an ER doctor. In this setting, she truly saw the gap between urgent care and primary care, especially in communities that didn't have access to affordable primary care. From this experience, she really went on and made it her mission to bring healthcare services to these underserved communities. We now have over 15 locations. We offer a variety of services, including immigration health, occupational health, mental health, urgent care, and of course, nutrition health related services.
Now, I really want to talk about, the wellness tips, because I think that's just so important for so many people, as I mentioned, as we begin the new year. What inspired you to create, this list of wellness tips?
So we all know, the new year rolls around. New year, new us, right? Everybody sets out with these ambitions to, this is my year. I'm going to lose 20 pounds. I'm going to run a marathon. So rather than setting out with these, major goals, let's start small. I figured if we have a list, we can pull from that can set us up for success. Can we add a walk around the block twice a week? Can we add extra fruit at breakfast? So starting small and really adding to what we're already doing, it takes the pressure off and it can help set us up for success.
Now, I noticed a lot of the, spots on the list kind of focus on food, which obviously is a huge, it's a huge step in becoming healthier. What are some of the most important tips in regards to swapping out foods or just introducing healthier foods?
So I always like to tell people, don't be afraid to try new things, and stick with me here. So let's say you're a big fan of chicken salad or egg salad, and we know mayonnaise can be a part of that. What if we swapped mayo for Greek yogurt? And I say this because, number one, you're not gonna taste the difference, I promise. Number two, you're gonna add extra calcium. You're gonna add probiotics. It's gonna be lower in calories. It's gonna have vitamin D. So by making these swaps, which, if you don't like one of them, you can always go through and try more, but you're gonna be adding these beneficial nutrients to your diet.
Now, I think it's so funny that you mentioned chicken salad, and I think a lot of people get tricked with this because I'm like, oh, chicken salad's healthy. Like, what do you mean? And then it's like, oh yeah, there's mayonnaise. That's not a healthy thing. So, what advice do you have for people who can sometimes get tricked by these things that we automatically think are healthy because it's called a salad or, it's just a little bit misleading in regard to health?
Great question. So as we all know, walking through the grocery store, we can see products that say promote heart health or, promotes gut health. So I always like to encourage people, turn it around, check the label. What's really going into these superfoods or superfood ingredients at the store, and just getting a better understanding of what it is you're having for breakfast or lunch or sending your kids off to school with.
Now, I understand there's something called plate method. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah. So the plate method is, imagine you have your plate, split it in half. Fill half of the plate with something colorful. Maybe it's a vegetable, maybe it's some fruit. Just add some color to your plate. That way we're immediately getting fiber. Split the other plate in half. On that half of the plate, put 1/4 as the protein. So think chicken, fish, eggs. The other 1/4 as your carbohydrate. So rice, potatoes, pasta. And when we do that, we're hitting all of our food groups. We're getting all of the proper nutrition in that meal. And most importantly, it's gonna keep our blood sugar stable, which keeps us full, keeps us energized, and that's what we want.
Now, I'm so glad that you mentioned color, because I also think it kind of makes things a little bit easier when you can just visually look at your plate and say, okay, I need some more color on this plate. So I really love that tip. Now, I really want to talk about becoming active because that is also, another goal that so many people have, and that's just to become active. What are some ways people who still work from home or maybe have a hybrid schedule can be a little bit more active?
Mm-hmm. Get up. If you find yourself sitting and 4 or 5 hours have passed, go for a quick walk in between a call. If you're in an apartment complex, run up and down the stairs. Your neighbors might think you're crazy, but getting your heart rate up, it breaks up the day, keeps us energized. And put on some music, maybe dance around your room, just getting that blood flowing and, again, making it work for you. So rather than saying, I have to run for an hour after work,
Right.
Can we just walk for 10 minutes in between a call? That stuff really adds up.
Right. Or feeling the pressure to like go to a gym. It's like you can possibly just do this in your own home. So I'm really glad that you mentioned that. Now, why do you think people often struggle to stick to these new habits? Because they sound great and we're really motivated when it all, when it's in the beginning, but then let's say maybe a month or two later, it's hard to keep it up. So why do you think people struggle with that?
Mm-hmm. Two things that come to mind. Number one, we try to do too much at once. And number two, we have really wild, pressures that we put on ourselves. So rather, like we mentioned earlier, than saying, I have to go to the gym every single day, can we add those walks before work 2 or 3 times a week? It helps to remove the pressure and it's more realistic. Who really has time to set aside an hour for the gym every day? But we can all say, all right, let's walk the kids to school. Let's walk to grab a coffee. So just adding that and making it realistic for your routine. And like I mentioned earlier, removing the pressure. Think of these things they're adding to our health. This is all great stuff. So really keeping in mind that you're taking the time to really make improvements for your health, your life, your energy. Anything you do, that's a win.
Now, I really want to talk about access to healthy food or just being active because we talk about that a lot when, we're trying to change our habits. But I think it's just also really important to fully understand the benefits of nutrition. So that could be, as you mentioned, going to the supermarket and reading a label and understanding, what you're reading, or, just anything, what is the benefit of truly understanding nutrition?
Nutrition knowledge is critical. And I'll give you an example. Speaking with a patient who recently found out she had prediabetes. And she says, Melissa, I don't eat dessert. I'm not a candy person. This makes no sense to me. So deeper in the conversation, what are you hydrating with throughout the day? A couple sodas. Oh, how many? 5. 1 Coca-Cola has 40 grams of sugar. So just to do a little math here, 5 sodas in a day, that's going to hit 200 grams of sugar, which is the equivalent to 5 Hershey's bars.
Wow.
So just by knowing that information, knowledge is power. We can make more informed decisions, not only in that direct moment, but for a lifetime.
Now, can you also talk about just ways you can cut down on sugar just by changing what you drink? Because I think for me, I know like drinking so many of your calories or sugar is like, it's not worth it. So what are some tips that you have for people who may struggle with that?
Rather than saying we are completely removing soda from your diet, let's just start by cutting back on 1 a day. So if you're drinking 3, let's go to 2. And also, what are we going to replace it with? So if people know, I love my afternoon Sprite, I need to have it, let's create something new we're going to look forward to. What about an iced tea? Or, adding lemon or mint to your water. So there are still ways to add flavor to promote hydration, but really, again, starting small.
Now, I think this is really interesting. You mentioned that the use of technology before bed could also affect your wellness and your health. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Definitely. So there are tons of research studies out there showing that increased screen time before bed is going to decrease the hormone melatonin, which promotes sleep. So if we're not getting that melatonin going and we're not feeling, ready for bed and the endless scrolling and our mind can wander, we're therefore going to bed later, waking up in a fog, which can unfortunately, set ourselves up for less productivity, less informed decisions. If we're tired, we're fatigued. So again, we don't have to completely remove cell phones from the bedroom, but what if we say, all right, for 30 minutes before I go to bed, maybe I'll read a book, maybe I'll journal, just starting there.
Now, I really want to get your opinion now that we're on the topic of technology. As a nutritionist, how do you feel about people getting tips from just other people on, let's say, Instagram or TikTok, and they're sharing their experience? What are your thoughts on that?
Definitely, we all know, social media can be the wild west of information. Everybody, especially around food, everybody eats, so we all can become experts since we are eating.
Mm-hmm.
I would just encourage people to check your sources. So anyone can go online and spread information, but get curious. What background does this person have to be sharing this level of information? So do your due diligence before following, blind information.
Now, I really want to talk about your organization and the locations that you have in the Bronx. You will soon open another, which I think is pretty cool. Why is this important for people in the Bronx? And can you tell us a little bit about those locations?
Absolutely. So we currently have 2 locations in the Bronx, one in Bartow Mall and then the other on East 174th Street. Our third is coming very soon to Hunts Point. And Nao actually means boat in Hindi and Spanish. And the idea behind the name is that we would serve as a ferry to bring patients perhaps from a time of stress or uncertainty to better health. So by bringing affordable, accessible healthcare to all communities is really the mission of Nao Medical.
All right, Melissa, thank you so much for joining us and really teaching us how to be a little bit healthier this year.
Thanks for having me.
To learn more about Nao Medical, please go to their website at www.naomedical.com or follow them across all platforms at Nao Medical. Stay tuned, we have more open right after this.